So in the stream, we're going to build a little bit on our syntax lookup page. This page is supposed to be some kind of database for all the syntax constructs we have in our language. For instance, we have our decorators, control flow, or other constructs, such as uncarried functions. It uses a fuzzy searching engine to match on all this kind of stuff. So if you're looking for uncarry, we will find the right uncarried syntax. If you're looking for just for the characters, we will find our results as well. The same goes for decorators. I can use bs.module as well. We will find all the decorators here. And in this stream, we're going to focus on this one input element. And this input element looks simple, but it's actually quite tricky because we do a lot of different things. For instance, we do a lot of focus hijacking here. So we don't want to just click into the void. We always want to focus the input field in there. So we're using React refs. When we're typing, we are automatically completing the stuff. And we are also like adding specific logic. If there is only one result and we press the tab button, it will automatically expand to the last result and give us this nice overview here. When we're pressing the escape button, it should remove the content as well. So we are using a controlled component in React to make this happen. And another thing which is kind of tricky because you need to know a lot about DOM event handling, how it's working, how to focus, how to blur stuff. When we're auto-completing this one and we're hitting another tab, it should go to the next focus. And if we press Shift and Tab, it should go back. And most importantly, when we Shift Tab back, it should also remove the whole focus of this component. This sounds all very trivial, but it's actually quite tricky. Yeah, this is going to be the content of the stream. I hope you like it. Have fun and enjoy. My thing here. So how this thing works is, so this is basically an XJS application, and we are using React to render this component. And this component is called the syntax lookup widget.res, which is rendering essentially this whole thing, like starting from the title and like the input field and all the stuff right there. And one thing I wanted to implement was, first of all, that when I click on that, I want this to be like the input of this text field. And I also wanted to apply some styles to that. Gonna work on this then. And hopefully we will have something like this for now. Okay, that's rude. Yeah. So maybe let's start with something simple so you can understand how this styling works here. We are using Reason React for that, and we're also using Tailwind. So if you drop by to this specific part here, into some, so like this title right there, we want to apply some styles. In this case, we want to have so we have this view right there. We're using Adobe XD for expressing our user interfaces and inspecting all the attributes for all styles. And this is using Gray60 TR. So this is our color system, Gray60 TR. Gray60 TR. And I think I will close this one. There's no point in doing this one. And make this smaller again. Yeah, this is much better. Okay, so let's go back. We have gray 60TR, which we already applied. We want to have a font size. Whoa. So the question is, what is the font size? It's 14. It's 14 pixel. So text 14. And we also have a max width of 344 pixel. So we apply an inline style for that. It's like 21 REM. So this compiles, and this one is still maybe we apply the style to the parent element here. Oh yeah, we are not on localhost. Let's go back to localhost. Okay. That was quite easy. And the next one is our text field. You cannot really see it here, but it's there. We're gonna apply, first of all, we're gonna give it a border. And probably this is not going to be the input field. It's going to be the wrapper around it. And inside we will have the input field right there. And then we will probably have to do some ref forwarding to forward the clicks to the input field. Whenever we're clicking that, it's going to be interesting. So let's see if we can do that. So first of all, we need a border, which is some kind of red tone. And we have a color for that. Sadly, in Adobe XD, we need to still apply all the colors and give our color system more consistency. Right now, we are sometimes bailing out on some custom values. That's why we see the ECA78B hexadecimal thing here. Cool. Sorry, I'll take some wind-up time until I get back into my zone, you know. Okay, so we have, oh, we applied it to the wrong element here. So we go back to the search box, and right there we already have some styling. We will use this one in particular. Nice. And we're gonna apply some padding right there as well. Oh, that's probably too much. Maybe let's make 2. And we also need to bail out. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so we're gonna need to bail out this layout. So maybe the max width was not a good idea on the parent element, but we need to apply it a little bit more specifically to to this part. And we're currently using text center to center the text. That's maybe not so good here, so we put it right there. And now this is centered, but we still need to, how to say, horizontally align these things or horizontally center those. And this is also very easy actually. We just need to use Flexbox for that. Just let me think how we should do this. Okay, so we have those now centered like this. Within our boundary of 705 pixels. We still want to build out our search component here. Hey, Michel. So maybe we don't even need, yeah, we need this max width right there. And our search box needs to be full width. This is probably not gonna help anything. Oh, actually it does. So this is good. And we can also apply max width for those. In this case, it's 544 pixel. Maybe let's take this style right there. $34 REM. Okay, so this looks already pretty nice. There is still the input right there. But we still need to apply rounded corners here. So maybe let's add some rounded corners, border radius of 8. So we will go here to radius. Oh, we need to go to the search component here. By the way, I'm using the new editor integration in Vim. So this is ReScript code. And we recently got the editor tooling done. That means we can jump to definitions and we can get some autocompletion. We can get some lookup information, type hints, etc. And the cool thing is that we also fixed the go to definition for GSX components. That means when we're hovering over search box, for instance, and I'm triggering jump to definition, I get directly forwarded to the make function, which is extremely pleasant. Previously, it usually jumped to the start of the module, and this was always a pain to find the make function afterwards. So we need a border radius of 8 pixel. And for that, we need rounded. 8 pixel is 1.5 REM, so we take rounded LG. Yes, this looks nice. And then we have like the search icon right there. We also need that. We also need to make this a flex component. And for the icons, I have an icon module. And we have a magnifier class in here. And we can also apply a class name right there, which is probably, I don't know, what is the size of this one? It's probably not too much. 12 pixel by divided by 4 is 3, so like width of 3 and probably height of 3. So we can see that, yeah, it's getting there. Maybe let's make it 4. Yeah, that's better. And you can also see that this is having a different color. This is probably Probably text fire. Let's see if this is true. Yes. And we need to center this inside this flexbox. So we use item center. And we also need to give the input component a little bit of padding. So let's make it margin left 4. And also the magnifier class and over there requires a little bit more padding. So let's make this a py of 2. Py means padding vertically. And then we have px, which is horizontally. Oh, let's make it a px of 4. It's still a little bit too less. Let's make it 5. Yeah, this looks better. And yes, and then we need to implement some active state to highlight the component to be active, because right now this looks not so ideal. So whenever we focus this input, we need to set some active state and render it differently. And for that, I actually have one component in the playground which does something similar. So when we go to our settings right there, this is also kind of like the same thing. We have like a component right there. And it doesn't matter where I click. It always captures the focus of the component. No matter where I am. And when I hit, for instance, the escape button, it loses the focus as well. This is not native behavior. This is more like emulated behavior. But I think it leads to a better, like a nicer looking component. And this one in particular is called, I think, dropdown select. Something with refs, react.ref. Let's see. Warning flags, button on mouse down on reset click, text standalone reset, and warning flags widget. And this one is the thing where the magic happens. And we will probably need to get inspired with this component more often. For instance, we're using blur, or we're using focus, and scroll into view is, I think, not so interesting for our case now. We also don't need the scroll height, client height, because we don't really do any absolute positioning of, how to say, floating pop-up component. It's more like, you know what? Let's just go into the search box and implement some state here. So we have a search box with a specific state, so it can either be idle or empty. Or we can make it active with some string. And actually we also need to, I think we need to control the state from the outside. So maybe I should hook up the, maybe let's take a step back and inject the value in there. And make it a controlled component. That means that we are not relying on the built-in, like we don't make the DOM track the value, but we track the value within a React component instead. That's one thing. And we also need to consider that somewhere. So we have an onChange function here, which triggers on every like type thing. Whenever I type something, it triggers the onChange. And then we have a show details, which does something, or we have show filter, which shows the filtered state. And when we are showing filtered, we also want to track the state of our search component. So here we are creating the show filtered state, and we need to pass in the value of our form component of our input field. And here we are destructuring on show filtered, which is fine. And here it's still saying that this variant constructor show filtered expects 2 arguments because we added another one. And in here we ignore this value here because we don't really need it for these parts. These are categories. Each category has a title and a number of tags. And we still need to pass down the value to our search box. So search value should be based on state. If there is so search value is based on state. This is our component state. And if there is a show filtered, we get a search string. And we don't care about the items here. We just want the search string back. And for every other state, show all. When it's show all, we want to show an empty string. And if it's show details, it destructures the item in there. And then we want to return the name for it. Then we have our search value. We pass down the search value to our search component. Which is over there. Value equals search value. We reformatted the whole thing and now everything looks nice and dandy. If we save that, we see in the compiler that everything built correctly. And hopefully Yeah. So now we reach the state where I enter something. So how this thing works is show filtered, show details. So whenever we are changing the value, we are retrieving the current input value. So as long as there is no, so let's see it again. As long as I'm not hitting a key which returns a concrete match with one value, I can still like search for things. So if I press P, there is nothing with P, but if I press M, I will trigger the first match, which is module, and then it will automatically lock into this. And of course, now that we are in this state, in our show details state, we will never, so let's go back to the search value. So this is the state of our input component, what it puts in there. And if we're in our show details, it will only lock to the item name. So if there's one match already, it will never escape this match. So what we need to do is we need to find a way to clear our state. We call it on clear. We make this a button. We create a function on mouse down clear, which receives an event. We don't really care about the event, so react event dot mouse dot prevent default. So we do the same thing as we would do in JavaScript. Later on, we will call the onClear function. And here we can also define what this is. It's unit. Value is of type string. And onChange is react event.form.t unit. So this is now missing an argument of type onClear, of course. So let onSearchClear create this function which receives a unit. And in here we will call setState of our parent component, which sets everything to show all, which again will re-render the component. The component will see, oh, we are on show all, and set the input field accordingly as well. So in here we define the on search clear. So now we don't see this component yet because we didn't give it a string or anything. So in the search box, we go back to the button and probably use some kind of X icon. Let's see if we've got one in our submodule here. We have a close. And this one will get a class name W4, H4, and also text fire. Okay. So if I press this, it doesn't do anything. That's interesting because we didn't apply our on mouse down event here. And now when we click that, it clears again our input field. But we don't want to show that X when there is no content, right? So we will hide it on so if value unequals empty, or if it's equals empty, then we will return hide hidden, otherwise block. Class name equals close class. So now it's there, and when we click it, it's gone. Okay, so I mean, ideally, we would not allow any input if... So like if I'm pressing PPP and there is no match at all, we shouldn't even like let that allow. To be honest, there is another... Actually, this whole component was inspired by a different thing. Let me just quickly show you how this looks like. It's right there. So this was the original thing what I found recently by Josh Como. And this is actually amazing because like I really like the style of it. And I'm basically copying most of this stuff because he figured out the tricky parts about the UX. And the interesting thing here is that I cannot really enter any, so I'm pressing any letters, and there are no letters. But if I'm pressing like equals, it will automatically find the assignment operator. If I'm matching plus, it's the addition, but I can still add the equals here. So, but nothing else. Oh, I think I found a bug. It's entirely possible that this list is incomplete. So maybe he's only allowing like a subset of... Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. So he's only allowing a subset of characters. Yeah, maybe we are not going to do that. But if there is like one match, I press M, there is BS module. But if I want to have BSS, I go into the S decorator. We also have our markdown in there. So this looks really nice already. Now let's see if we can find another thing. So this is like bold, like the text in there is bold and there's no focus. No focus at all. For Tailwind, there is something about focus, however, active. Outline none. So if we put an outline none in there. This will be gone, but this is actually not good UX, because you always want to highlight the right component, because right now I cannot really see what is the active state for that. So that's why we need focus management here. And for focus management, we need to use refs, unfortunately. So we are going to use another working branch of mine, because I'm also working on the new React docs here, right there. Let's go to the new React docs, and I made a refs and DOM section here and how to create them. So for instance, here we have like, I think even like the exact thing what we want to build. So first of all, we're gonna take the search box and we create a text input ref in there. And then we will hook it up with the input right there. Where's my input? This one. And so now we hooked it up to this thing, and we don't need the focus input here. But actually we need it. We need the focus input. So we take the focus input right there. And we also need the focus function. We'll just copy that because it's not too hard to just copy this one. So now we have the focus input function, and whenever we are clicking on and now there's the tricky part, because you need to know a little bit about focus management. So maybe let's have a look at the playground again. We have a focus input function right there. With a blur input, we want to on click. I need on key down. We have a suggestion box. We have an on change in there, which sets the state. That's fine. On blur, sounds promising. On click, on focus, on blur. Maybe let's try this out. So let's see what happens if we use on focus, which receives a focus event. We're gonna just snatch that. And put this on our input component, and then we can just log out just the input for my case. Maybe let's remove unnecessary GS logs. Okay, so the input is okay. I blurred the focus. I go back to the focus and I see the content. So when I'm hitting that, I want to set some state. And one of it is an active state. And inactive. State and set state. We use state and it starts with an inactive. But whenever I'm focusing on the input, I'm setting the state to active. And whenever we're in the render, we will output focus state state. Okay, so I'm pressing here. Focus state is 1. Focus state is true. And when I blur, I don't see it. I don't see the re-render because we are still missing an on blur. And we also don't need this actually. We don't actually need the event at all. Let on blur. Set state is inactive. And put this on there. So now you can see on the bottom that focus state is true, and if we leave it, it's false. It's true, false, true, false. And if it's focused, maybe we don't even need a ref. But we'll see, because like we will need a ref because I want to still focus whenever I'm clicking on this thing. So first of all, before we do anything else, we will highlight this whole thing. So maybe let's make it like this, the magnifier class. Just concatenate it here. So if state equals active, then text fire, otherwise it's text fire AT, making it a little bit more transparent. Yeah, so you can see it's a little bit more active, a little bit more. Maybe let's make it 40. Maybe this is a little bit more distinct. Yeah, it's probably too much. And we can do the same thing here. Just put this here. We take the border 40. If state equals active, then we gonna do border fire, otherwise border fire 40. Yeah, and as you can see, of course, I want to press everywhere here to activate the text input. And also I want to make the text input basically full width. So let's make this W full. And now we are talking. So now this is like this size right there. Yeah, so this is module. Yeah, we can make this a little bit nicer. I don't like the way this interacts, because if I'm here, I want to delete the full thing. If we go back to the operator thing, we can press plus, and if I'm pressing this again, or maybe let's make something more extensive like this. Okay, so this goes back. So maybe it's not a good idea to lock into something. Maybe I shouldn't do that. Yeah, I definitely want to press escape to clear this whole thing. And for that, we can use on key up, on key down. So if we are pressing, yeah, we can take this. So this means we get the key, we get the control key if it's pressed, and then we just concatenate that together. And if we are hitting enter, escape, tab, or whatever, we can, I actually want to have escape. So switch full. Otherwise, we will do the D, or we will do nothing. We'll do nothing. Yeah, otherwise we'll do nothing. Servus, Timo. If we press escape, we will run on clear. And then we bring the on key down right there. So we're going here, and then we press escape. Module, escape, module, escape. And we will probably, I don't like the login. I don't like that the first match gets automatically locked into this. This doesn't feel correct to me. But it should actually blur. So I'm pressing something and it blurs. Yeah, tab completion is nice. I think we also have that already baked in. I think this is a little bit off-centered. I'm gonna take the close class and instead inline it. So if it's hidden, block, whatever. Otherwise, plus plus something together. So we are just concatenating class names here. If it's hidden, and what do I want to do is make it block. Inline block, I think. Still a little bit weird. Okay, so cool. Module. No, I don't like this login. I don't like it at all. Let's go back to on change. So we're changing text, and if length is filtered, we get the first item and show the details, or we show further down the show filtered. If there's only one element left, I think there's not much. Yeah, maybe we should do it like this. So if I am, yeah, so now I'm basically doing this. Now it would be cool if we could do some code completion kind of thing. Input field. Autocomplete. The autocomplete attribute specifies whether or not an input field should have autocomplete enabled. Autocomplete allows the browser to predict the value. When a user starts to type in a field, the browser should display options to fill in the field based on earlier type values. The autocomplete. No, this is not what I want. I don't want to have something like this either. I actually want to have some kind of highlighting that this is the thing I want. But maybe it's better to just not allow any more input later on. What I mean by that is I can I'm not sure. Maybe I should pass down the potential values to the search component. What do you mean? What do you think? Because then it would be easier for me to let the component do its thing. Maybe, yeah, let's do that. That sounds fun. So let's say we have Ah, naming is so hard. How should I call this? Completion values, maybe? Which is an array of strings and which is empty. No, which is an empty array. And then we have a set of possible values. We can pass that down. Completion values, which gets derived from our state. And within our state, we have here completion values, show filtered, search, and show filtered actually gives us an array of items. So these are the possible items. So we return either search or belt.array.map items item.name. If it's show all, we return this and return all items. Maybe let's extract that. Let's call it completion items. Then it's all items, and show details is only one item. Yes, so we are essentially making some kind of auto-completion here. But I want to, what I'm currently trying to do is, if I'm putting this in, this shouldn't even be possible because there are no values. So I want to stop at MO and then maybe like just tab completed or something. So we have our completion items and we need to pass them down to our search box here. So completion values would equal to belt.array.map completion items, and we get an item and return item.name. And oh yeah, sorry. So this should not be item.names, but just item. Because completion items is an array of items and not an array of strings. So now this compiles, and in the search box, we're going to have we're going to log out these completion values for now. So as you can see, if I press M, we only get one item back. And if or A or E has multiple values, so you can see that we've got two auto completions. And based on that, we could maybe limit the next characters that are allowed. But this would be too complicated, I guess. This is hard. Anyways, if you're there and we press tab, we can actually prevent the default and instead do an onChange. But this onChange won't work properly. We need to I don't want to manipulate the text input directly, although I could. But this would not be very Reacty. How do we do this? We have the onChange, right? And the onChange will send us the current value. Maybe we can actually override this onChange. We can call this onValueChange, which receives a string and a unit. And then we will create, then we can call onValueChange, and then we take we need to wait for this first. So we take the onValueChange and we create an onChange function, which receives an event. And this one we need to print default event, and then we retrieve the value from the event, which is event target event, and then we receive the value from there. So this is like a JavaScript object because target returns me a JavaScript object, a structured JavaScript object, so we can destructure it like this. It's highly generic. So this is not type safe at all. And then we call the onValueChange with a value. And then we hook up the onChange, that's fine. And then we will probably need to go to line 349 and call this one onValueChange. We retrieve the value. Oh, I actually have an onValueChange. No, this is wrong. onChange, onValueChange here, onValueChange. onChange should be onValueChange. We receive the value. Are you kidding me? Wait a sec. Oh my god. onChange. Okay, so now we are in the right component, which has onChange. In there, we retrieve the value. So the value goes in here. This is now on. I call it onSearch value change. And then we can do our business. And down there, we will so now it's correct. Okay, now it compiles and yeah, so now we can do whatever. So this is fine. And now we can go back to our tab. And what we can do is we can check if completion values js.array.length completion values equals 1. For now, we will just prevent the default. And actually we can also just pretend to return the first value gs or belt.array.get action completion values. The program always needs to compile, otherwise I cannot get any type hints. Get exception array and the index 0. Okay, so if I press something and press tab, nice. Yeah, this is much better. It would still be nice if we could... I would really like to see this, you know, like auto-completion as a ghost, kind of. Does any one of you know if this is possible in plain HTML? I'm not sure if you know what I mean, but something like... No, they are all doing it like this, huh? Okay, and when we are here, so we press AS, and after that I want to still go further to my close X. That means that if array length completion value is 1, we will retrieve the target value, and then we will compare it to, so if target value equals value, then actually if it's unequal, then we will do this whole thingy here. Else we will just do nothing. And if we do this, we can now basically can go back and forth to these elements. So this is super nice. We're getting to a point where it's useful. That's awesome. And when I'm auto-completing, it should also automatically select this like this. So it's being shown on the screen. This is also missing. So we need to go back to our on search value change. On search value change. And here we need to do a similar logic as before. So I think we don't need this one. But if essentially if js.array.length filtered equals 1 and like this, and then we will retrieve the target value, which is belt.array.get action filtered 0, and then we will we will return us the first item, and we want the name of that. So target name is now a string, and if target value equals our value, then we will show details with, actually we need to have item here, and then we say item.name equals value, and then we will retrieve item here. Okay, else, oh no. And we also need to put the value in there because do we? No. This variant expression is expected to have type unit. The constructor show details does not belong to type unit. Oops. Okay, so each class needs to return the same kind of... Okay, we probably need to simplify this here. Yeah, so each branch of an if needs to return the same value or the same type. Otherwise it will not type match. But let's see if this works. Yes, so if I'm going there, I will automatically expand the whole thing, and then I can delete it again. And wow, this is so nice. This is why I like ReScript a lot. It's just, I know it's not perfectly type safe everything. Like there are so many rough edges here and there because of the nature how how JavaScript works, but just the fact that you can completely rely on the types in your boundaries, like, okay, talking to the DOM is a little bit complicated or a little bit unsafe, but if you do the boundary talking, like the interrupt correctly, everything within your type area is completely sound, and this makes it so much easier to refactor. It's I cannot really, I don't know. There is nothing in comparison. I cannot even compare it to any other language. That's something that hasn't been there yet. Not even if you have been doing like pure Haskell or Elm or whatever. I think this is not, you cannot really compare that. It's completely different. It's every time I see this, it flashes me. It flashes me hard. Okay, so we have everything basically. So this does not work yet entirely. On focus. By the way, if you have any questions, feel free to write on the chat. I'm happy to answer all your questions. Okay, so on focus and on focus here. And then we have some, yeah, if we focus on there, But I think you can also focus on here. So when you're clicking here or focusing, that should also be possible. So let's see what happens if I'm focusing on this thing here. No, this doesn't work. I did this on the playground though. On focus, on blur, on change is active, delete button, on focus. Area on focus. I'm focusing input. Okay, that might be it. On focus. Yes. Let on area focus. If state on area focus. On focus, area on focus, like this, is active. If it's not active, if inactive, focus input. The value focus input can't be found. Okay, focus input again. We can go to definition, just take that for now. And we call that text input. Okay. And then we need to hook it up, of course. Okay, so area on focus is doing the same thing here. Oh yeah, we need to apply a tab index. This is like the dark secrets of HTML. You just need to know your accessibility stuff. If you don't have a tab index, it will not be focusable. Here we go. It's nice. Holy crap, this is nice. How? Yes. This is insane. Okay. And now we are talking. Now we have our... Now it's easy from here on. Holy crap, this is nice. Like if this is getting done, we're getting a really nice documentation platform, I see. This is really getting me excited, like the whole day already. Just being able to like, just imagine like going back to our old BuckleScript Netlify. Someone uploaded the BuckleScript docs for some reason. Instead of like telling us what they are missing. There is like, I made this, oh no, it's not here. It's not here, it's on localhost. Localhost docs, reason compiler. Latest and decorators. So like, just imagine we have all these decorators right here. And you don't know what these decorators mean. and you're just like, okay, I go to my syntax lookup tool and just press tab, and you're like instant instant in this documentation, and it refers you to the correct locations. Like, I don't know, for instance, BS deriving BSS, it already like shows you, okay, go to this part, go to refer to records as objects, whatever. Like, it just points you to the right direction without even like teaching you about the concepts. You don't even need to know the syntax at all, because you can basically just like, okay, I need a control flow. You have an if else, you have a switch, you have I don't know what else. You have types, you have record types, you have a record key, a recursive keyword. You have options, some and none. And the cool thing, the very best thing about this is fuzzy searching. So when we go back to our data, we have like all items right there, and we have keywords, so we can alias these things as well. Like, this gives us incredible flexibility. For instance, I don't need to look for if, like, exactly if else to match this. I can just do else, and that's it. Because it will automatically look for the keywords here as well. And depending on the fuzzy searching and depending on the amount of data what is in there, you will have like super quick finds already without any, like, without typing too much. And we make this, and I will make sure that this is like completely accessible, and then you have like, that's awesome. Like, you escape to delete the whole thing. Module, okay, this is not what I'm looking for. As, okay, this is that. Ah, this is so nice. I wished I had this when I learned the language, I tell you. Oh my god. Okay, anyways, let's go back to, sorry, I just, today I was just like completely hyped about this, and now I'm seeing this getting more and more complete is super promising. So we go back to our summary. In our detail box, we have a summary string, and the summary string is tricky. No, it's not. It's not tricky. We have 21 pixels. We already have 21. It's semi-bold. It's semi-bold already. It has some kind of line down there. So we need a border B, and we need to have border fire 40, I think. And then we need a length. This is like, there's a question by Yo. Would you be able to syntax lookup function currying e.g. dot or GST to syntax e.g. Okay, maybe I will. How can I? Maybe I shouldn't have closed Twitch. Oh no. Okay, anyways, if it's possible to enter like this, for instance, yes, I think this is possible, and we can also try it if you want. So if we go to our all items, I will just copy this for now and call it curry syntax or curried function. That would be like the name. This is the explicit carried function syntax. Definition. Or whatever. And we can put this in here. Although I don't think we need something like this. And then we will just show like this random thing here. And this is like other. So carried function. Maybe we should just make it like this. So we have, for instance, this here. This is explicit carried function definition. And then we can go there. Uncarried. Sorry, yeah, you're right. I trust you too much on that one. Okay, yeah. Yeah, but this would work. And we could also like maybe put an alias on there or something. I'm not entirely sure. We will see. We will see if this is enough for people to recognize it. The ligatures are a little bit weird here. But other than that, I think this is nice. Yeah, but we can go wild here. And the cool thing about this as well is that all of these things are basically markdown files. So when I click on module, this is actually the content of another markdown file. And here in our code base, we can find it in misc docs. There is like this folder right there. And there we have just our stuff in there. And we import them normally as a MDX component with, it's essentially like this. Right? I'm not sure how the performance impact is on this one, to be honest. Next, we'll probably just bundle this specific page as one big bundle. But I don't care. I don't care if I get this. Like if I can get this precise UX, I'm totally willing to sacrifice some bytes. This is going to be great. And we can also think about, like, this is very generic. I mean, you can fuzzy search on pretty much everything. I could imagine that if we can create an index for the standard library, for instance, which I'm currently working on as well, you could, I mean, what I mean by that is like generating documentation out of ReScript code. But we can also extract the types, right? So we could create an index for like, you know, like this Haskell kind of thing where you're just looking for string, and then it gives you back all the functions that follow that signature. That's doable. Yeah, one bundle is good. Language isn't that complicated. Yes, the language is actually quite simple. You're right. And we hope it stays that way. I mean, this way we can also like figure out, we can even like document the BNF format for those who are working on the language, etc. Yeah, searching by signature sounds sick, but it's really complicated. Not by like doing the search, but it's more like, how do you manage the dependencies? How do you only show like the standard library stuff? Should you include other third-party stuff as well? Where do you draw the border? And how do you mix it up with different versions? This is, yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe I will revisit it when I can generate the data from JSON. When I can generate the documentation or the JSON for the documentation. We can also reuse that for the index. Okay, there is another spammer, so don't mind them. Okay, so maybe I will create a new file from there. So we copy that node and we call that function uncurried. And not that you would need it, but is there some different way to do something like extension functions in Kotlin in ReScript, but not as verbose looking like JavaScript promises? Is there some different way to do something like extension functions? Do you mean, wait, are extension functions something in Kotlin? I don't know Kotlin too much, so maybe if you can post an example, that would be helpful. Uncurried functions. Whenever you want to force the compiler, no, how to say? Whenever you're passing callbacks to a function, the compiler cannot infer the actual usage, the actual curry. I don't know how to. Uncurried syntax defines a function type that is not curried by default. This is useful whenever you want to make sure that your function is not being curried unintentionally, or if you want to force the compiler to emit cleaner JS source code. JS doesn't have curried functions by default. And then we can provide an example here. So is there something? What is a good example for an uncurried function? I don't know. I need to think about a better example later on. So we have a callback which gets an integer and returns unit, and then we call the callback with 1. Something like that. Doesn't matter. Okay, this is the explicit uncurried function definition. Not function definition, but syntax lookup widget, uncurried function syntax. This is an uncurried function. Cool. And now we need to provide some more padding down there. Okay, someone wrote something. Prototypes, something like this. Fun int is even, boolean, return this. Okay, cool. Bye, Joe. Int is even, boolean, return this. Okay. No, we don't actually need that, or we don't do that because we would always use a function for that. So in your case, the is even, maybe it's a bad example, but I mean, I would create an integer module and is even, type t is an integer, and is even would receive a t and then mod t 2 equals 0 or something. Yeah, no, we don't do that for several reasons, because this it wouldn't make any sense. I could do this now. Or even like this, I can put this is even and then log that. Actually, I don't need that. Yeah, so this is how you extend it. And I mean, if you want to, like, if you feel like this is too verbose, you can open up a closure, open int, and then use is even there. So yeah, we don't have many ways to define like different kinds of function. There's only one kind of function that is a function closure, and I think this is great. There is no like this or anything like that. You don't need that. Okay, so let's go to the detail box. I mean, I will wrap up in a few minutes. So if you still have any questions, feel free to ask. I still have 5 viewers there. So we have the summary string, and we want to provide a little bit more padding underneath PB4. That looks nice. And this should not be centered. Yes. And it would be cool if you could highlight these. And for that, we would need to create some kind of promise, not promise, no, I'm talking about promises, but some kind of templating language, a mini templating language. And the way we would do that is we would provide the detail box with item component. We have the item right there, so we can actually pass down the name of my detail box. maybe let's give it a string. It's always a good idea to type your public interfaces. So like this. And here what we can do is we have the summary, and let's maybe log this. And remove all the other logs that are out there. So if you go to all items, we have this. So what we can do is, for instance, for the uncurried, we could provide a placeholder here. And I'm not sure how we should define it. Maybe something like this. Yeah, this is probably problematic in this example. So maybe here. Or actually, we don't need that. Maybe let's do it like this. It's an if else. This is an uncurried function. We use the backticks for that. This is the as decorator. This is the module decorator. And then we don't need to provide the name to our detail box. We don't need the name, we just need the summary. So, and in there, we will first of all force some kind of result. Let's go here. Let's see the output. And then we log js.string2 summary split this, and then see what happens. Then we see this is the if-else control flow structure. Ah, that was silly. Okay, now we've got the tokens right, but I mean, we can hack it. We can hack it together. I think it's fine. If we take the summary elements, so we switch on that. js.string2.split. I was a little bit surprised that this works out so well. So we can switch on that, and what we can do is, if it's like, there shouldn't be 0 values, but if there is 0 values, it's an empty string, or it's actually react.null. If it's first, second, third, then we will React.string that together first. Yeah, so we React string first this together, then we have a div React dot string second, and then we have a third React dot string third, and then we pipe it through a React array, and put this in the summary L, and now we can actually make this a span. Make this text fire. And then we pass this or anything else. And anything else that is more than 3 elements. For everything more, we will just build.array.map through it, and then pipe it through React Array. So just so you understand what's going on, what I cannot do in Reason or ReScript is this. I cannot do that. I cannot just pass a string inside a div. I always need to explicitly cast it to a React element. So this does type check because this is always explicit about the types. This takes the string and returns a React element. And what we are doing here is we are splitting an array into multiple strings, and then we coerce them back into React elements, whereby if there are 3 elements, we know that we need to style the sandwiched element here with a text fire. And then we put this into in here. Since this is a React element, I can just put it into the GSX like this. This is just a way to ensure that the type system is always correct. And this is now working. That's surprisingly easy. This is a module decorator. Maybe I will not module decorator. Maybe let's put this here. If else. This is a module decorator. This is an uncarried function. Uncarried, maybe just make this highlighted. Okay. Okay. So we're getting closer to 8 o'clock, I think. We got a lot of things done. I see. I'm so happy about this. I cannot tell you. Oh, this is so awesome. I will fine tune it a little bit today, and I will push it to my pull request, which is already like open here in rescriptlang.org. You can go to the ReScript documentation website, and you will find the GitHub link here, and then you come to the repository, and then you can check out the pull requests. And there is my syntax lookup tool right there. And I will push my latest changes on there. I hope you could learn something. I'm not sure how many people like completely followed the whole stream, but I will continue to do this every week on Wednesday. Maybe if it's completely out of your time zone, let me know. Maybe I will upload this to YouTube in a private thing so people can rewatch it. Yeah. So anyways, have a good one and see you next time.